Happy June 29th. Hopefully you're having a great day whenever you are listening to this. It is currently 10:06 a.m. and you are listening to the first ever Monday recording this podcast. I'm usually recording this podcast as soon as the last putt drops in. We're coming right up here and we're starting to break down golf. Not this week, people. We had a Monday finish. So I have delayed. I recorded a couple segments yesterday. So got some F1 thoughts in, got some Cub thoughts in yesterday. And then we will go fully into golf today. I have a lot of thoughts on our crumb bum of the week. Shout out Phil. We'll go into that after that. So getting on to golf now. Congratulations, Viktor Hovland, on a playoff win and a Monday finish. It came down to last night. It came down to Viktor Hovland and Scottie Scheffler. Scottie had a fantastic couple days. I mean, he shot Scottie's round 2 was one of the better that we've seen in quite some time. Shot a 60 out at now, and that course is very scoreable, but man, he absolutely lit his cart up. Had a chance at 59, made a bogey, so had the 59 worth of birdies right there. 1, 2, 3, 6. Yeah, 12 would have been 12, 11 strokes under par if he bogeyed the second hole. So great day by him. He was kind of leading this tournament. TPC River Highlands out in Connecticut turns into a little bit of a birdie fest, and that's kind of what we got today. It's kind of what we got for this tournament, really. We saw we saw a couple guys, Collin, go 9 under today. Nikolai Hogard. Before we get back to the podcast, shout out to Golf on NET. If you're anything like me and you want to play more golf, but your wallet has other ideas, Golf on NET gives you the access to participating courses in your area for one flat annual rate, which means more rounds and fewer excuses. The way I look at it, if you're already spending money on golf balls, hot dogs, and that new club you definitely don't need, you might as well play more golf this season. Check out my friends at Golf on NET and start playing more golf this season. So there were some numbers out there today, and then just for the tournament, we obviously saw a lot of guys going low. Most guys are in that double-digit range. The top 30. The top 38 were double-digit under par. So that tells you that the course is not playing very hard. That's the one. It was not playing like Shinnecock was 2 weeks ago, right? Or like Royal Birkdale is going to be playing for the Open in a couple weeks. It is. They were making birdies left and right for this thing. So it comes down to Viktor Hovland versus Scottie Scheffler for the tournament. Viktor kind of balls out yesterday. I really actually shouldn't say that. Viktor, they've kind of a little bit of a pillow fight, honestly. A whole bunch of lead changes. It's kind of the biggest, match play is pretty freaking awesome. Viktor made a bunch of bogeys. Scottie was kind of the even keel to only 2 under on the day. Made a fantastic putt on 18 to push it to a playoff. Pushes it to a playoff and then they had a rain delay yesterday. So I think they had about a 2-hour rain delay yesterday. So it ended up that they were having that they said, hey, if this putt drops in, we're finishing on Monday morning. So this morning at 8 a.m., so 2 hours ago, they went off. It lasted a hole. Scottie missed a short putt. And Viktor Hovland wins a signature event, Travelers Champion, and he is his first W of the season. Viktor has not been playing the hottest golf, so good for him to get another victory on there. That's his 8th victory of his career. Brings him a little more up with some interesting folks, honestly. I think a lot of these guys, as they look at the compare them, he was at 7 wins before the current guys with 7 wins are Collin Morikawa and Webb Simpson. Moves up to 8 with Keegan, Cantlay, Stuart Sink, Billy Horschel, and Victor Hovland now are at 8 wins. So move it up. The next group is Bryson, Brooks, Reed, and Kuchar. So kind of that 9 wins, and you just start kind of getting less and less from there. So Victor Hovland has definitely put himself as a top, one of these top players in terms of winning and closing. I think the question that remains with Victor and will remain with Victor for quite some time until he does is a major. Victor has not had a major and is one of the ones that people continually pick for a major because the skills are obviously there, especially if you look at him, where he's at with some of his compadres on starting to be on some of the wins lists. It's like, buddy, it's like, I can't. He's at Tommy Fleetwood levels where it's like, buddy, you don't. I mean, I guess Tommy barely has won a tournament, but you're at this point where it's like, dude, you gotta have to. At some point, you're gonna have to win a major if you're gonna be considered one of these amazing golfers of our time. It's pretty interesting from Victor. He's great, but it seems like he has problem closing. But maybe an Open Championship is in his future this year. Let's talk a couple other guys. Collin Morikawa. So Collin had a great Sunday. Was really kind of coming at the tournament. I really thought Collin, it looked like for a little bit there, they're going to come back down to him at 20, or he could get to 21. He was 9 under on the day, 30-31, birdied 16 and 17, or birdied 16 and 18 coming in. So, I mean, monumental effort from Collin. Kind of gave it all he could today, but was just a little too far out of it, which is a little tough on some of these birdie courses, right? When you start seeing birdies, that there's just so many birdies out there for the leaders and the end guys to make. It's just so hard to catch up. You have to go out and legitimately, even if you shoot a 69, and some of these guys can go out of there if you don't have that big a lead. It's just there's not as much to mix up. So Collin played fantastic. It seems like Collin's healthy, which is awesome. I think that's been the biggest recoup of Collin with his game as of recent, that he has not been healthy really, and it makes it we kind of saw his back injury, and he looked like he's been playing kind of waiting to hurt himself again. Want to thank one of the partners of today's video, X Golf Libertyville. Whether the weather stinks, it's dark after work, or you're just looking for a place to settle the score with your buddies, X Golf Libertyville has you covered. You can play world-class courses, dial in your numbers, grab a drink, and keep the golf season going all year long. If you're in the area, check out X Golf Libertyville and tell them Birdie or Bogey sent you. Now, back to making questionable takes on golf. This was the first week that I think I really saw Collin swinging freely again. It looked like he wasn't, at least what I watched, it wasn't like he didn't have that kind of wince on his face. At least some of the times that maybe so. I gotta hope that he's gonna get healthy there, because I think he's one of the better players in our game. And when he's on and he's healthy, he can definitely contend for majors just as good as anyone else can on the field right now. He hits the share of the golf ball and is a fantastic putter. So led the field in strokes gained this week. Led the field in putting this week, and then just as around the greens really is what kind of cost him. Number 47 around the greens. Made up for it with a lightning putter. You can get away from it. You could definitely get around some of these stats on making it for being such a good other way. And the guy that won the tournament was ranked number 2 around the greens and number 57 in putting. So he was putting the ball close, but he was not making a whole bunch of putts, long putts. So he was not gaining a ton of strokes around putting, but he was gaining a ton of strokes with his chipping and putting it so close. And that's really what won the tournament. It was not really great approach play by Victor. Top 10 off the tee, but nothing kind of special in there. Kind of the same thing with Scottie. Really nothing. This in starts of strokes gained data for. That's just for the tournament, for the round 4. I'm sorry. For the tournament, Scottie still is. I mean, it really want to point to one stat. If you want to point to one stat for Scottie, it was around the greens. He was ranked number 41 in the field. Was obviously in a playoff for number 1. Around the greens was not his. Victor was ranked a little bit better in putting for the week, and Victor was ranked better off the tee. So it's interesting how the cookie crumbles to these strokes gained. They both are tied for being 21 and going to that. They're tied in strokes gained data, but how they got there is two completely different ways, right? Scottie was 41 and around the green. Victor's 11. Approach, Victor is 31 in the field and Scottie's 5. So it's just kind of wild variations between kind of the strokes gained data and some of these guys of how there's kind of two ways to get there, which I think is super interesting. And golf, there's not just one way to play this game that's going to net you a negative 21 at the Travelers Champion. Two guys can play this course kind of almost completely differently. One smoking it off the tee, one hitting great approach shots, and it lends himself to nearing the same kind of spot. And then kind of what we saw today is, I think it just as we saw a single hole, it's just hard. I mean, I think Scottie had a par putt to keep it on, and he just ended up not making it. I kind of don't really know what to think about that because it's just kind of hard with one hole in the morning on a Monday. It's hard to super judge. I think it's kind of a coin toss based on kind of that. Who else do we have? Wyndham Clark. So Wyndham Clark is not quietly, but has been playing some fantastic golf. Obviously winning a U.S. Open, but followed it up the week before. Win a couple weeks before that, and then another top 5 under today. Didn't just have enough to kind of get it done today. Was a little too far back also. Wouldn't had to make a couple more birdies coming in. But another top 5 for Wyndham Clark. So he is playing some very, very good golf right now. Also Akshay Bhatia. So it's good to say Akshay back up there. I would love to see Akshay knock a major off. I think I'm a big fan of his. He's in the way he kind of plays golf. And he's a little boring, but he gets the ball in the hole. JJ Spawn. JJ with a very tough beginning of the year was not playing good golf. Looked really poor. But won a tournament in Texas earlier this year, and then now another top 10 here. JJ is kind of rounding into form as we get later in this year. It was atrocious off the tee this week. Ranked number 61 off the tee this week. But was number 1 in the putting. That was Wyndham. Jesus, Wyndham. Wyndham was terrible off the tee this week, but just was perfect in putting and perfect around the greens, which just gave him that number. JJ was bad around the greens, and he was not a great off the tee. Was good putter thing. I think one of the guys that we talked about a couple times that I'm very happy, that very much deserves some of the stuff that's he's earned this year that is Alex Fitzpatrick. Alex Fitzpatrick had won based off the team event with his brother earlier this year, but has come on and showed he very, very, very much deserves this opportunity that he won. That he was one of these ones that kind of helped to win that tournament. It would be based on some of these finishes. He is not just a hang on. He is another top 10 from Alex Fitzpatrick. 17 under for the tournament, 6 under on the final round. Great day great for him. He is really, really rounding into form, really becoming and making a name for his own Alex. Same last name, but making his name for the A Fitzpatrick rather than the M Fitzpatrick on the leaderboard. You kind of have to, if you're starting to see a Fitzpatrick, you kind of have to look now for the first initial, before you see what it is. Before it used to be, that's obviously just Matt. Both are kind of rounding to form as some of the better golfers in the planet right now. Who else had a good final day? Cam Young had a good final day. Was way too far out of the tournament. It was 1 under on the tournament, so it was 20 strokes back coming in a day. Really 7 under performance from the day. Definitely has not been playing his best golf since the Players. After that win, has not really looked great. He was one of my early picks for a major of the year after we got a little maybe hyperbolic earlier in this year. Have not seen him playing fantastic golf, but maybe rounding in a form a little bit. Who else had good rounds? Keegan, 6 under, not a bad one from him. Tommy Fleetwood, top 15 for him. Good tournament. Let's go into the picks. Picks weren't great again. We're just not doing great at picks right now, but we will turn it around. Alex Fitzpatrick, I had him to win T7, so we're close. This next one was not close. Ludwig Olberg, top 5, T55. Yikes! We weren't super close in that one, folks. We were closer. Tommy Fleetwood, top 10, T14. Tough. And then we did hit one, top 20, Justin Thomas. He finished T14. So brings our total to 1 and 3. Not great. 55, 33 and 55 on the year. Not what we want. But we will get ahead of it before next week, right? There's always next week, people. So we head off. That was kind of our last elevated event before the Open Championship. Now we are kind of full steam away towards the Open Championship. Now we got a couple more. I think there's 3 more weeks before that. I think they're out in Scotland in a couple weeks for the Genesis. But we are down. This is another ball watchers. We've had a couple weeks. We had a couple big golf weeks. RBC Canadian Open, our U.S. Open, Travelers Champion. We are in a ball watchers tournament this week. We are out at TPC Deer Run. Before we get into more of the golf, thank you to one of my partners over at Vice Golf. Look, we're not tour players. We're hitting trees, cart paths, and maybe the fairway. This is why I play Vice Golf. Premium performance without paying premium prices every time I donate a ball to the woods. If you need to stock up this season, head over to Vice Golf and use code KYLE, KYLE, at checkout to save money on your order. So we go out to TPC Deer Run next week for the John Deere Classic. This is always I would love this tournament, being this is definitely a close to Chicago tournament, so kind of love, again, this one. I've never got a chance to get out there, but would love to get out there one time. Was hoping to get out there this week. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get out there for this tournament, but fingers crossed, maybe something can happen that we can end up finding tickets and end up getting out there sometime for this week, because it's only got a 3-hour drive for me in Chicago. It is definitely one of the easier courses on the tour. Expect someone to be at 25 under par this week. This is not known for being a test of golf. It is not meant to be a fun weekend. It's always been kind of usually July 4th weekend. It's usually nice and hot in Illinois/Iowa. But this is, should be interesting. This is kind of a lot of these lower guys that are not in the signature events. Kind of a couple of them last chances. A couple of these guys, we have an Aaron Rye that's not even in the tournament for a master or a major, and he can literally win a tournament a couple weeks before and find himself winning a major. So to one of these guys that are currently not in the Open make a name for themselves, or this is, we're going to see one of Jackson Koivian's, I think, first official start. He obviously started at the U.S. Open, but that's a tough one. somewhere that he is, not too different than he's played in some of his career already in collegiate golf. Will be very familiar with this place. Now, can he get it done on the biggest stage? What I also like this means, right, is that we could see there's so many birdie opportunities. We kind of come to where we can today. And that if someone's going to be 6 shots down, there's not double bogeys out there. So no one's going to be coming back to you. You're going to have to make that ground up. So you can very much win a one bad round, and you're kind of out of contention at a low score event. You kind of have to go 65, 65, 65, 65 if you want to be up there and have a chance. Otherwise, if you shoot a 68, 2 under par, there's a chance that these guys are there's no coming back to you. So you just playing good golf is not going to be a great. You need to play fantastic golf. So we'll see how some of these guys do. I think it should be it's always a very fun week. It's definitely seems like it's after a couple of very stressful golf weeks, we are down to kind of a more of a hit and giggle. It feels like this week. Let's get on to the picks. Who do we think? We got some good ones, I think, this week. TPC Deere Run John Deere Classic to win. Ben Griffin at 1,325. That's a big one for you guys. We'll see if I think that he's been playing some good golf like him this week. Top 5, Chris Gotterup plus 295 like him this week also. He's been playing some good golf, and especially without the field and without a lot of that top 10 players in the field, it leaves open for some of these other kind of guys to really attack. And then we got a top 10. We're going to take a flyer on the new kid, Jackson Covian, 225. How does he do on his first PGA Tour start? Could be interesting. And then we'll take a top 20 in Cashmere Keith Mitchell. Keith Mitchell has been playing some good golf. Where does Keith Mitchell round up in kind of this whole thing? So those are our 4 picks for the week. We'll see. We'll talk next week how those do. Enjoy. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the golf this week, and we will enjoy TPC Deere Run this week. Let's stay on golf. We will move to our crumb bum of the week. If people have not read the reports from Mr. Alan Shipnuck, there's a scathing response. None of this has come. I want to preface so I don't get sued by the birdie to bogey lawyers have made me say this. That this is now reports coming out of Alan Shipnuck. I am not reporting on any of this information. I am strictly seeing what I saw on Twitter and talking about it. Online, there's no things that I have done. That's from the lawyers. So this week, Alan Shipnuck released kind of a scathing takedown of Phil. Looks like it's been being worked on for a while. A couple major points that the whole thing was like, Phil, you're a scumbag. Essentially, is what they boiled it down to. But a couple just crazy reports from Phil, being a real creep. Having he was out to dinner with Pat Perez and his wife, and Pat gets up to dinner, and Phil slides over his phone with a picture of him like flexing with the boner, and is like, hey, after Pat goes to sleep tonight, come over and talk to me. That's fucking creepy as hell. Doesn't sound like that's the first time we've done that move. So that was talked about. That was reported from Pat Perez's wife, Ashley Perez. So that creepy. And then multiple reports that he would go at some point. He was cheating on his wife again, or maybe for the first time, and would go to the club. Or I think at this point his wife was suspicious. So he would go to the course, give his phone to someone else, one of the members, one of the kids, a kid that was playing, and pay them $500 and have them ride around the course with his phone, like when they were playing. So if his wife tracked him, that she knew his course that he was playing golf, or it looked like he was playing golf while he was out banging whoever he wanted. And he would then catch up with them on the, back nine, and then play a couple holes and go home. So not just very disturbing reports. Kind of sucks I was being such a big Phil guy myself growing up. Would say growing up was one of my heroes. Loved the way that he played golf. Growing up when I did, it was Phil and Tiger were the guys. The heroes of the absolute game. So it is not super fun to hearing these guys that are absolute not the best of people in the entire world, and even maybe fucking shysters. That is not, it really does not put a great mark on Phil's legacy. He is not a young man anymore, so he's not able to kind of go out there and win majors and kind of reset the narrative on him. Especially with the live stuff right now, it really seems like he's going to be a man without a home in a mere couple of months. We may have seen the end of Phil Mickelson, which is going to be a very sad ending to his very illustrious career. He's going up there with absolute major greats. You essentially can't talk about the game of golf without mentioning his name on course, and it's going to go down as his off-the-field antics will be remembered more for what he's done on the course, which just sucks. Because he was, for the while, he was the man. Not even the man in terms of golf, but he was a man in terms of a family, famous at the Masters, that he was legitimately was going to leave for the birth of his son to be there with his wife. And it's like, that guy is not the same guy that we all kind of fell in love with. Has definitely had some issues, it seems like, since it's in Alan Shipnuck's report. It sounds like he's been drinking a lot. But it kind of seemed like Alan Shipnuck just kind of took the nails and just kind of doop, 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 tapped them all around Phil's coffin, because that is some tough news already. We talked about him with the live stuff and the tour not making exemptions for him. This obviously was not. This was a pretty poorly kept secret in the golf world. I think a lot of us, a lot of us are reading Reddit and reading Twitter reports. You don't know what's totally real. You're not going to talk about that on a podcast. But seeing these reports was not at least shocking. Seeing the details was shocking, but seen a lot of Reddit things coming up that Phil having some issues off the course, infidelity, a couple of clubs kicking him out, and that was kind of the talk of why he wasn't playing in the majors. I may have even said that on the podcast. Have that confirmed, obviously, now why he's missed the majors this year, and I don't see Augusta having him back. Knowing Augusta, knowing what they publicly did to Tiger after that thing. To have him back, he's going to have to sit down with Fred Ridley for a good talk. And he's going to have to publicly own up to a lot of the shit that he did. And even then, man, I don't know. That's some stains. We're talking, we are talking infidelity, but we're also, which the Phil, and this is, with Tiger, he didn't have the reports of sexual misconduct, where it was from all of Tiger's reports, it seems like both parties were willing participants. From some of Phil's reports, it does not seem like both parties were willing participants, which for me seems like a very big difference. Obviously, cheating on your wife is fucking disgusting. But having one party that is willing and both parties are willing, it it seems like it should be a little different than what Phil did. And I don't know. I don't see Phil coming back from that, right? I think Tiger obviously was able to walk some of that stuff back in 2008, 2009. Where he's at now is a much different side of the story, right? Because there are some legal things that he did, but his allegations with the women, Phil's are going to be, I think, much more. I mean, literally, he may face actual legal trouble. I think he'll probably pay him off. But some of the stuff, I don't know if does this impact his Hall of Fame in golf? I think it has to, right? Does this impact, and what for sure impacts is our, America's Ryder Cup, right? We should have had, Phil and Tiger should have been captains of the Ryder Cup, legends of the game. I don't think he'll be around even, right? He's not even an assistant captain. At least Tiger's going to be able to probably be an assistant captain. But Phil he's going to be out of the game. He's going to be out of the game, man. He's going to be like one of those old guys at some club and just like hitting golf balls and dusty ass bones. And is that Phil Mickelson? It's got to be like that. It's like some of those old movies where it's like you see that old crusty guy at the driving range that's hitting bombs, and he's like, well, who's that? Well, that used to be a professional golfer, but, we don't really talk about him anymore. Kind of seems like that's where Phil's headed. It's a dark path that he is down right now. Would like to see him publicly get some help because it does not seem like it's going fantastic. And just sad to see. I was growing up, obviously, a massive golf fan, and has always seemed like he was kind of the good guy, and just seemed kind of this week was a tough, at least for me, a tough realization that some of my childhood heroes may not be the best people. So that sucked. We'll get off that now, that depressing topic. We talked golf, we've talked picks, we've talked soccer, we've talked F1. Cubbies. Let's talk a little Cubbies before we get out of here. Boys are heating up. Seems like the bats are really, really coming alive. Multiple games over 10 runs in this last week. Beat about the Mets pretty good. And then now we had the Brewers come in or went up to Brewers, which essentially is Wrigleyville North, and took 2 or 3 from the Brewers. So they're really, really kind of coming, like they're seeming their bats are coming alive, which was beyond needed. The bats where they were at were kind of at just a standstill and a kind of an atrocity where we were at, where we cannot, our pitchers were putting up good games and we were not at all playing well, or we were not at all hitting well, that we were, we were losing 2-0, which is just tough. So it's good to see Dansby's really starting to hit the ball a lot harder, putting some, just getting a lot of hits, racking up good doubles and singles, which we'd like to see. Because that's what you really need. Obviously, you need the guys that go out there and mash home runs, but you need the guys to get on base. You need the guys to drive it, a couple of guys from second and third, get a couple walks, and someone hit a bloop single and drive in 2 runs. That's what's going to win you baseball games, especially in October. Everyone's going to be trying to mash the ball. What's going to win is small ball wins playoff games. And I'd like to think we're getting a little bit better at that. It seems like we're getting a little bit better at getting guys over, getting guys on, getting guys over, getting them in. That's kind of the name of the game. Pitching health continues to be, I think, a pretty big concern for us. It seemed like Ben Brown, I don't know how long an injury, I didn't see how it was, but having, I think it's a hand or a quad, had some type of injury. He went down, so he'll be down. But we're not in a tough spot. We're not in a bad spot yet. Taking 2 or 3 from the Brewers really helped this weekend. Gets us a little bit closer back to home. I think we're still 7 games out. It's a little too early to start really looking at that. I think I'm always been. One of my dads or my grandma even used to say it, or they used to say it on the TV. Is you never start looking at the standings till after the All-Star game, right? So that's where After the All-Star game is really when you start looking at the scoreboard, when you start looking at how everyone else is doing, watching the Brewers won or loss. Before then, you're just trying to win baseball games. So we're getting close to that point, right? We're only a couple weeks away from the All-Star break, and we'll see who is going to be kind of how we're going to have to get into the second part of the season. But overall, boys are heating up. Hap, PCA lead the team in home runs. Dansby is kind of belting his way up there with RBIs, just knocking guys in all over the place, 46. PCA just continues to hit the ball like fantastically. So can't be as sad about any of those stats. PCA is looking much better as he's been looking almost easily best player on the team as of recent. So like to see that. Fan of obviously the Cubs playing well. We have another tough games this week. I think we have the Giants in town. No, not the Giants. The Mets. Oh, no, Padres. Sorry. Padres are in town this week for a 3-game series, which will be interesting. And then we're St. Louis is coming into town for this weekend. So 2 tough series here, all at home. It'll be nice and hot in Chicago this weekend. So we will be playing some good baseball. So it's two tough teams. We're going to have a good, really we can take 2 or 3 from both of them. I think it's going to be a good week. And we will continue on. So let's go Cubbies. We start getting some healthy around here after the All-Star break. Get some of our pitchers back. Maybe make a trade. And I don't hate where we're at. So moving on, we talked F1, we talked Cubs, we talked weekly picks. House of Dragon. So the next thing I was about to record last night after House of Dragon episode 2. But I was like, wow, if we're gonna record Monday morning anyways, I'll just wait till Monday to do this anyway. So House of the Dragon episode 2 was so good. If you have not watched, no spoilers yet, okay? I will warn you before spoilers. House of the Dragon's back, okay? House of the Dragon. We had a little bit of a slow season last year. HBO heard the critics. They saw us on Twitter saying HBO might have lost their fastball, okay? HBO might have lost their ability to make just TV shows that make you sit up on your seat and for an hour and just stare at the TV. They heard that and they said, bet, watch. They came out this year and said, here's the bag. Give us fucking dragons. We want dragons. We want TV. We want it to be talked about. We want people to go on podcasts and swoon over this season, and that's what they got right now. First episode, awesome. Second episode, first episode, you could argue that should have been the season finale of last year, and I wouldn't have disagreed with you. So, to make, you would have had to have, back-to-back episodes make this season amazing, and we absolutely got 2 back-to-back episodes. So much so that I would literally woke up this morning thinking about rewatching the episode from last night again today, how good that was again. It was that good. It was... I don't want to talk on hyperbole, right? We often in the show, I get very hyperbolic, and I love to say whatever I just saw is the best ever. But that, for me, I think is the best House of Dragon episodes that I ever watched. And there's a good chance that's top 10 of Game of Thrones episodes. That was just an absolutely, from start to finish, an episode that had great acting all around from all the people. We had death. We had plot line movement. We had multiple times, which is really what for me, everything that was awesome about Game of Thrones is when you would have these episodes that you're sitting there glued, you haven't blinked, and it feels like, okay, here's the end here, it's going to go to black, and it just keeps going. And it's like we touched a remote one time, and it's like there's still 35 minutes left. And it's like, oh, man, let's gear up here. We have an episode. Those are the best ones, all right? It's the ones that you think that you've been literally have not been able to blink, so it's been so good. And you're like, we're still have 3/4 of the way to go, and there's still going to be awesome things that happen at the end of it. And that's what we got here. So we're going to go into the spoiler section of the episode here now. So if you do not want season 2 of Episode Dragon spoiled for you right now, move on, okay? Do not watch from now on, all right? Fair warning, from now on, I will be spoiling episode 2 of House of Dragon. I'm going to give you a 5-second countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rhaenyra's on that motherfucking crown. Rhaenyra's on that motherfucking throne, bitch. She's got it. She did it. She got it. We saw on the end of last season her making a deal with Alicent to get the throne. She was going at it. She really wanted that. She made a deal with Alicent that, hey, I don't want to slaughter the kingdom. Right? I want this throne so fucking bad, but I do not want to rule. I don't want to be a queen of the ashes. Okay. So she makes a deal. Alicent sends off Aemon to Highgarden to retake Highgarden. He does. He ends up killing Sir Simon Strong. Kind of a bitch move, kind of just gives him a nice little stab. And then as he's like getting hard of killing someone, the son steps up behind him and kind of just gives him a nice little clean shot to the kidneys. Maybe even puncture a lung there. And it almost gets him. I mean, it's Game of Thrones, right? So he gets there, kills that kid, and then ends up going over and seeing the witch lady. And of course, there's nothing more than a king loves than seeing a nice witch lady. A king loves a witch lady. There's nothing like a crazy, not a king. There's nothing like a crazy king that loves a witch lady. I mean, that's a match made in heaven right there. So he sees a crazy witch lady and is like, bet. And now is headed over there. He's theoretically, there's no way Aemon dies like that way. So he'll recover her, but he's kind of off at Highgarden. And him and Vhagar are there have taken Highgarden, and Rhaenyra now will sit on the throne. They took the city with multiple dragons, and then they also, which was a badass scene there of them going into the thing. And if you watch it afterwards, they talked about how Rhaenyra and Daemon they had it so they were timed up, so every step it was like the same, and it looks them taking the castle and going through, and Daemon kind of mowing down the rest of the guard that was left, which is kind of crazy. This guard, they are guarding the throne, which is just a crazy parable. I guess it could be a parable. I didn't say hyperbole. That's not the right word. It could be it's just a huge parable. They were protecting the throne. The queen left. The queen regent left. The king flew away, and then the other king ran away. So they were protecting nothing. So most of them died for just a bunch of empty rooms. So that sucks. Rhaenyra comes in. It looks like we're going to get an episode where it looks like Rhaenyra and Daemon are going to get slaughtered by what the King's Guard is in there, and then the Night's Watch kind of comes in, or the City Guard comes in. It ends up being from the flashback from episode of the first season, where Daemon was in charge of the Night's Guard, or the City Guard. They end up staying loyal to him and use this time to then take power. This guy will be the Lord Commander now. That's a big come up for him, as now Rhaenyra sits on the throne. Absolutely bad episode. Kind of multiple times thought we were going to end. It's like, well, we're not going to get a Rhaenyra throne episode right here. And then we got it. And it just kept going. And so it ends with, I did not even remember the Hightower dad. Alicent's dad was still alive. Completely forgot. I mean, there was a scene of Daemon's laughing at somebody in the And the judge is like, ah, you're still alive. And it was the Hightower dad. And he, yes, was still alive. It was a big beard and stuff. And comes to it, and Allison and Rhaenyra is like, and Damon's like, hey, motherfucker, you want to be queen? You got to lop some fucking heads off. And Rhaenyra's like, I didn't do it. And Allison was like, or Allison's dad, Otto, was like, please do not fucking hack my head off and take 4 times. And of course, hits him right in the back. And like, he's like, and she misses the first time, and then the second time, lops the head clean off. So, Rhaenyra, and in an absolutely cinematic scene, as the lopped off head of Otto Hightower and the blood is pooling on the floor, they pan the camera down, and you see Rhaenyra's steps up to the throne in the blood of Otto Hightower, where her ascension to the throne is essentially written in just pure blood, and the blood of her once compadres. So it just, I mean, they were absolute, whoever HBO took a bunch of fucking chef ingredients and just started fucking cooking. Okay, they absolutely cooked with this episode. 9.5 out of 10. Okay, good enough that I have decided that as I'm recording this podcast, as I'm editing this podcast and it's uploading this afternoon, I will be rewatching that today. It was that good. Absolutely fantastic House of Dragon. And I am very excited. I very much expect us to get a filler episode next week. We kind of need a storyline build episode next week. We're going to have to see what happened to Aemon. We're going to have to see probably some conversations with Alicent. So I don't expect us to get another all-time episode next week. I think we kind of need, we're going to have a pod. I think we're going to go maybe down episode, and then we're going to go right. We're going to kind of go get a story built here. So great episode. If you have not kept up with House of Dragon, second season definitely was not one that I would say, hey, run out to go watch this show. The second season was not. You really had to kind of be in, and it was kind of falling. All of us were in or kind of falling off. The third season is cinema. We are at much watch TV at this point. It is so good. So highly recommend House of Dragon. The first 2 episodes have been some of the better episodes of TV that I have watched as of recent, and I've watched a lot of fucking TV. So, all right, people, I think that's everything. That's a podcast. We will be back next week. We will be talking a recap of the TPC Deer Run. We'll be talking a recap of Silverstone. Talking more Cubs. We will have a recap of House of Dragon episode 3. And we will talk. I will definitely have another crumb bum for you. So thank you guys for watching. Please remember to like. Please remember to comment. And please remember to subscribe. I highly appreciate anyone that does watch this show. This is definitely a passion project. Obviously, if you look at the views, we're not blowing out of the water as of just yet. We will be there. So you guys that are watching right now are the lucky 25 that are in here. So my 25 soldiers, when I take the throne and I'm sitting in the throne, my Night's Watch will be you people watching right now. Okay, you guys, you watching right now will be my Night's Watch once I take the throne, because you 25 that watch these episodes are my favorite 25. Okay, so once I do this whole Rhaenyra coming in the throne room, kicking down the doors, and lopping heads off of the old guard, the 25 that are my watchers now will be my Knights Guard. So you got something to look forward to. Appreciate you guys. That's all. Peace. This is where you put the coffin. Alright, so let's move on to F1. We just talked. I think we just talked golf a while. We talked a lot of travelers. Preview. So you heard a little preview of the John Deere. Let's talk F1 though. So this was the Australian Grand Prix. Good race. Another morning race. So it was very racing up, waking up with a cup of coffee and watching racing is actually a very fun way to do it in the morning. Fan of that, having a cup of coffee and watching it before I start with my Diet Cokes. Good race. I think there was some little what I would call drama yesterday at the qualifying. Somebody, Verstappen, had some aero brake issues, and I think one of his flaps didn't close or something. He went into the wall at the end of qualifying, like qualifying last sector, right? The last about a minute of it. From that, it was like a safety car. It was a virtual safety car. They're supposed to, I think, brake, but because it was only if it's a grade 1 safety car, if it's a grade 2 safety car, they're supposed to brake. If it's a grade 1 safety car, there's not allowed, I think, to push the gas anymore. So Russell did not push the gas anymore. He just simply, I think, that was lifted and then was able to still finish qualifying, delivering the fastest qualifying time, earning him P1 on the podium. So kind of in a little backdoory way, which was a little interesting. My first kind of look at, behind, I think that was my first interesting moment behind racing for the year. Because it kind of was like, I could see that being a penalty. I could see it not being a penalty. They obviously did not did not taking him. So knowing the rule book played off, obviously, being a season zero, I think I heard some videos of Kimi being a little upset about it. Interesting. So we go to the race. Russell starting P1 and really ends up holding his position most of the day. Loses it a couple times as they're in the pit, obviously, but then gains it back. First, he gets his second win of the season, first since the first win. So interesting there, right? We talked a couple weeks ago that Kimi was out on an absolute dominant stretch of the season, literally owning people as they go by him, and he's like this 19-year-old phenom. We see a little not struggle, right? He finished podium today, so not nearly a struggle, but definitely a little, not as clean of a race for him. He had a little bit of braking issues today. Didn't seem like he was he had all of his A game going for today. So, what it ended up being is we had Kimi, Max in second, and then followed by, George in first, followed by Max, and then Kimi in third. Overall, great race for Max. Max's best race so far of the season. I think even closer. I think his best before was a 6th. I think his first podium of the season. Obviously, his home, Red Bull, seemed like they did well there because that's where they do a lot of their testing. Very good for him. It seems like they talked about how he had some upgrade packages going in today. So had a little bit of a faster car. It's not really seeming like it has to fight as much, where it seems like he was able to just deploy a great battle with Lewis on a couple of things where they're kind of going back and forth. It wasn't seem like he having to be as defensive because he kind of knew that he had the power, he had the car that he could let Lewis go and then come around the next turn and go, where it seems like earlier in the year he was having to be a little erratic and defensive because he just knew they didn't have the speed. So they said that was a big upgrade package that Red Bull bought going into the day. So would expect Red Bull to kind of have a better car in the next couple of races here. Max, it seemed like they definitely picked up some speed. While some other teams, mainly McLaren, seems like they lost a little speed this race. Something was going on, was not one of their best races. Both of them up there, near nobody finished beyond 10th, so it's all points still, but just not their best race. Same thing with Ferrari. We talked a ton about, Ferrari looked like they found a bunch of pace last weekend going into Barcelona, and it looks like they lost some of it again, or everyone else gained a little bit more and they stayed stagnant because they seemed, again, a couple issues where did not have pace while everyone else was kind of flying by them. Max was flew by Lewis. Obviously, Lewis was defending as much as he could, but overall, just I think they finished 7th, 8th, or 6th and 7th. Not a great day by the Ferrari team after getting their first win. Sure, they would have loved. But next week, so picks. How do we do picks before we go start talking about Silverstone? Okay, well, P1 Kimi lost, so that's just unfortunate. Podium Max. There you go. That was, I think, his first podium this season, so you were lucky there. You guys are. That was a winner. And then top 10 Lando. Easy collection there. Top 10s are obviously we've been cashing those pretty simply. Lando win there. So not bad for the week. 2-1 on the week brings our total this season to 58% picking. So we are definitely not doing bad. We only picked a couple race winners, but overall we are picking much better podiums and much better top 10s. So not bad. We move. On to Silverstone. So on to Silverstone. This is from what listening and reading and stuff. Silverstone is what seeming like is one of the more historic. I'm not sure if it is. I don't know if best is the word people call it, but it is one of the more historic courses that F1 races at. It's called calling on the home of F1 is what they were calling it on the today. So excited. I've raced Silverstone once in the game, but I don't super remember it. So I think they usually have it in the F1 game. They have it of the week of thing. So I'll drive it this week. It'll be fun in the game. Have a couple of drinks, and drive some F1 cars in my Xbox. That's always fun. But we shall see. Obviously, we are in Britain, Great Britain. So there is the massive contingent of British drivers that are competing right now. We had an all British podium a couple weeks ago with George, Lando, and Lewis. So one of them there's obviously a lot of home crowd elements for them. So be interesting there. But Red Bull looked a little dominant today. So can Max kind of seeming like they picked up a little pace today? Can they continue that next week into Silverstone? Obviously, it's known for the horses that have won, but there's obviously a lot of other guys that have raced there a lot of times. So, most people call it some of the best atmospheres in all of racing, also because it brings out some of the greatest fans, and that's in quotations. I've never watched it, but according to the online machine, it brings out some fantastic fans. What was interesting also is that it's weather. So it's a lot of unpredictable weather in the area, and a lot of sun and rain showers. So that makes it very interesting for tire strategy. Do they go wets? Do people gamble with wets in the beginning, expecting rain? I think we saw that in maybe in Japan or China a couple weeks ago. McLaren gambled early on that it was going to rain, and it just didn't rain. And they had to go early pit and kind of cost them, 4 or 5 positions in the first 3 laps. Interesting there. So from what I've seen online, Silverstone is also one of the drivers' favorites. Definitely high-speed corners. There is a ton of them. It's rewards bravery, precision, and has to have confidence. It makes it one of the best tracks in F1. That's all according to the Silverstone website. So there you guys go. We shall see that again. My first year of F1 watching continues. Watched every race so far this season. It's been quite interesting. I'll say I do like it. I like it more when it's at a time where I can wake up and you can it's not a more normal time. The Miami Grand Prix was great when it was 4 o'clock. Sucks a little bit when it's at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, waking up for that. Not being a morning person, but overall, it's been a very fun year of watching and kind of getting more into F1. So highly recommend. So let's talk World Cup. So United States has played their 3rd game. They didn't play. Today's Sunday, so this was a couple days ago. No, this was Thursday night. We obviously made it on. We are on to the group stage. I think they play Wednesday for a knockout game, which is going to start getting very exciting. I think the first knockout game of the World Cup starts today. So was very much a party, but now it kind of starts getting real. I think obviously the group stage, everyone's, you lose a game, but you still got a couple. Knockout stage that starts getting ramped up a little bit. Now, what is it going to be kind of this next stage? How much more of these games, how much more of these atmosphere, these fans start going from when you have to win is going to be very interesting. So excited for that. I think we have a whole bunch of soccer games this week. It is supposed to be super hot in the United States this week. I think most of the country, we got like a heat dome sitting over us. It's going to be 100 degrees, not a heat index in most places. I know in Chicago we're supposed to have a couple days in the high, like 96, 97s, which are always fun. Makes it nice and sweaty here. I'll still play golf, but no one else will be out there, so that'll be nice. But it should be fun. So very, very exciting to see what kind of that looks like. And for this kind of next phase of the World Cup, you'd call it. We had the kind of the group play, but as we kind of go on to the knockout stage, I think Canada plays maybe today. They are the first ones. So overall, positive stuff. Still been enjoying the World Cup. I've watched a whole lot of it. Being an unemployed podcaster, been a great thing to have on during the day at 11 o'clock, and then at midnight while I'm sitting up doing nothing. It's been fantastic. Well, I guess nothing. While I sit up there and edit podcasts and edit videos, it's a fantastic thing to have in the background. So. I like I said, they should play World Cup year round. It should just be a year round soccer league of the world that we just travels around and they play. There's there's a North American league and there's an Asian league. There's a African league. There's like a Australian, Indonesian league, and then like they're divisions. And then they all play just like the NFL does, and then they all play the winners, and then they make the playoffs, and then we have that knockout stage for the top. It should just be a yearly thing. It'd be sweet because this makes soccer awesome.